It's time for six-figure trucking period 4. Let's take a look at my compensation as a W-2 company driver. First, we're going to talk about the logs for last week. I was paid for 4,275 dispatched miles. I had 3,815 logged miles. My utilization percentage was 113%. The day in orange was a day that I was on paid 34-hour reset. My unedited pay statement for period 4 of 2024, this includes all trips from January 14 to January 20th. The first trip started at the Fort Recovery, Ohio terminal and ended in Laredo, Texas. It paid $943 for 1,447 miles. The second trip started and ended at the Fort Recovery, Ohio terminal and had stops in Lexington, Kentucky, Simpsonville, Kentucky, Louisville, Kentucky, Jeffersonville, Indiana, Boonville, Indiana, and Evansville, Indiana. It paid $520 for 661 miles. The third trip started in Laredo, Texas, and ended in New Bremen, Ohio. It paid $1,072 for 1,474 miles. The fourth trip started in New Bremen, Ohio, and ended at the Fort Recovery, Ohio terminal. It paid $13 for 24 miles. The fifth trip started at the Fort Recovery, Ohio terminal and ended in Kinston, North Carolina. It paid $422 for 669 miles. Empty miles paid $21. Securement paid $26. A 34-hour reset paid $100. Loaded miles paid $2,635. And the stops paid $190. Total earnings for this week was $2,972. All right, buckle up and let's roll through the years 2021 to 2024 for comparison. You may have heard rumors that the trucking industry has been riding the brakes. My paycheck and mileage tells a different story. This is through the fourth week of each year. 4 weeks into the year, my gross income is $9,655, and I have driven 12,329 miles year to date. This averages out to $2,414 per week and 3,082 miles per week. Estimating that out over a year, I'm on track to earn $125,519 for 160,274 miles. Through week number 4, Texas is the state that I've driven the most miles in with almost 3,400 miles. Arkansas would be second, with Ohio coming in third. Interestingly, my home state of Georgia is fourth. 6% of my mileage this year has been hazmat placarded. 95% of my miles I have been under a load. In this industry, the roar of the engine and the promise of a hefty paycheck can push a lot of drivers. But it's the quiet moments at home for which we are doing this job. It is about finding a balance between the highway and the house. Drivers should not have to sacrifice their families for the road. So far in the 4 weeks of this payroll year, I've taken 6.1 days at home and 2 paid days off on the road. I'm not paid hourly. However, let's calculate like an hourly job for the week. My gross pay was $2,972 for 69 hours of work. If we break that down to the typical hourly job, it would be 40 regular hours and 29 hours of overtime, resulting in an effective pay rate of $35.53 per hour. Straight hourly pay would be $43.01 per hour. Year to date, I've earned $9,655 for 224 hours worked. Out of those hours, 160 would be regular time and 64 would be overtime. If we calculate it weekly, with overtime, the effective pay rate is about $37.64 per hour. However, as straight time, it's approximately $43.04 per hour. As always, make sure you're enjoying every day at work.